Welcome to the Nerd Party.
Let the filibustering begin.
Welcome to Nerd Party.
All right, this is Filibuster 29, and I am Tristan Riddell.
I am John Mills.
And we are here to talk about some Batman. John, before we get started in talking about one of the greatest superheroes of all time, it's good to be back on Filibuster, and it's good to be talking with you. I feel like the last time that just you and I podcast together, we were on this show and talking Joker, so I think it's fitting that we're here now.
Well, we're all about, making the circle complete. The circle is now complete. We talked about the Joker. It's only natural that we're going to talk about the Batman, because I'd say if there are two guys that have embraced Batman more than anybody else on this network, it would be the two of us. I'd say that's not a big stretch to say that.
No, I think that's fair. I mean, like America, the world might be a stretch, but I think we can contain it to this network. But we have a lot of Batman fans on this network, but yeah. Both you and I were just like, nope, this is just us. This is our show, and I'm thoroughly excited. And every time we podcast together, I feel like I see a new arrangement of your Batcave. Sometimes I see more Star Wars stuff than Batman. Sometimes I see more Batman than Star Wars. I see a little Jesus in there. All of the superheroes are hanging out.
Well, yes, I do have a tendency to rearrange the Batcave from time to time. Right now, the desk is in its theta arrangement, so that I can gaze upon the Batman, and so the Star Wars is behind me. So that's
now,
how it
how
works.
How about you tell our listeners the main reason why you needed to reorganize this year? Because you got some amazing gifts, and I feel like you need to tell this batch of listeners what it was.
First I'll start off with the inimitable Matt Rushing that I do aggressive negotiations with here on this network. He sent me a movie prop replica of Harvey Dent's coin, both nice. the charred one and the clean one, which is pretty great. So that was the first little change. But then my pal Craig, with whom I co-host Words with Nerds, gave me a treasure trove of Batman goodies this year. I have a canvas reproduction of Batman's first appearance in Detective Comics. So it's a very large version of that cover. And I have a giant penny because it's the Batcave. And then the prize possession, I would say, actually aside from the vintage Batmobile model from the 1966 show, which technically is still the coolest Batmobile, is an autographed Batarang from The Dark Knight from Christian Bale and Heath Ledger. So it was a Batman Christmas this year.
Yeah, Craig sent me a picture when he got it, and he even asked me. He said, he's like, should I get him this or should I get him this? And I definitely weighed in, and I was like, holy crap, you need to get him that.
Thank you.
Oh, you would have loved the other one, but I'm not going to tell you what it is because he might be saving it.
Saving it in reserves. Gotcha.
But when he told me that, it's interesting how easily I consider myself a good person. I consider myself a person grounded in morals and Christian Judeo beliefs. But it's amazing how easily murder goes into your brain when you have this kind of jealousy into your life.
Well, two comments on that. The first one is bring it. I'm ready for you. The second one is, just like the Joker said, you're just as good as the world lets you be. If I strip away the rules, suddenly you revert to savage Tristan. So
yeah, everybody's just one bad day away from. Oh crap! What's that line? We're doing a Batman podcast, and I can't even think about the line. But no, don't worry. I wasn't thinking about killing you. I was gonna kill Craig before he gave it to you.
Oh, but see, that would necessitate me killing you to get it, because I would have known. So, but either way, the important thing is, I hope I've proven my Batman cred. I believe that everybody takes it on faith that you are of equal level Batman fandom, given the fact that I believe you possess one T-shirt in your entire wardrobe, and it's in fact a Batman T-shirt, correct?
It's, I don't know. It's one of those things where, apparently whenever there is a picture taken of me, it's the day that I'm wearing that Batman shirt. And so, like, you guys, like a couple of people online, you and some other people have pointed that out to me and actually have sent me links of photos that I've posted online. And it's just like, is this the only one you wear? Like, you have your work shirts and then you have your weekend shirt.
Right.
And,
no, or you may have many. It may be like Homer Simpson. Homer just owns the same white shirt over and over again in the same blue pair of pants. You might just have 10 Batman shirts for all I know. And I'm not judging. That's fine by me.
When I open up my closet, it's like Batman Returns, where he just like slides the bat suit from one end to the closet to the other.
Oh,
but no,
right,
actually, that shirt, I do have a couple different like I have one that's kind of a dark gray, one that's a charcoal, one that's an olive. You know, like I do have different varied colors.
It's important to go for variety, but with a theme. I like that. I like that very much. So yeah. I mean we're definitely big Batman guys. So we tend to be pretty free form when we talked about the Joker and everything. So I want to come at you straight up, just the haymaker knockout question from the get-go. Favorite screen incarnation of Batman? Oh,
geez. Favorite screen incarnation.
Just coming out swinging. I got
okay. Well, I'll just the first thing that comes to my brain is I got to go with Christian Bale in The Dark Knight. That's the thing. I don't know. It's so hard. Like The Dark Knight is my favorite Batman film. And, Christian Bale has become my favorite Batman, but at the same time, 1989, the first time we see Keaton in the Batsuit, he holds up the bad guy, and he just says, "I'm Batman." Just like that entrance, like that. I feel like that's my opening to the Batman world for me, and so that will always be like just one of the coolest Batman moments, but. I don't know. I feel like because The Dark Knight is just so upper level, just so transcendent, I have to say that Batman story and thus that Batman.
Okay, fair enough. I'm a Christian Bale guy as well. I think the entirety of his work is just phenomenal. I think that probably the moment that stands out for me with Bale, why he sold it so much, goes back to Batman Begins. And it's going to seem like an odd pick of a scene, but he made Batman completely work for me when when there's the party scene and he knows that Ra's al Ghul wants to kill everybody. And so he immediately slips into that believable drunk act. And it was a moment where it was the first time I think that I ever saw on screen an accurate representation of how quickly Bruce Wayne could put on not just the Batman mask, but any mask that he needed to, and like that in and of itself, that was like in that moment, in a sense, he was becoming Batman because he slipped on who he was not, or who he really, take your pick however you want to read into it. Now, I will admit also a soft spot for Keaton because my first exposure to Batman was the 1960s TV show on reruns when I was a latchkey kid in Summers, growing up, and I had to endure Monkeys reruns and Batman reruns to get to Robotech, and I was like, okay, I can do this. Now, God forbid I go outside and exercise a little bit. I was watching TV, but that 1960s Batman, I think the reason that Keaton stands out so much is because for me, the first incarnation of Batman I saw, the scene you're talking about where he lifts the punk up and he says, "I'm Batman." Like it was this magic moment where you completely forgot about Adam West. God forgive me, Mr. West. I'm sorry. But that moment is the lightning strike where it was over. It was done. You forgot about the old Batman and you compartmentalized him and you pushed him off to the side and he belonged to another era finally.
You are speaking complete truth. You're speaking my language here because I could not put it in better words than that because, like as a kid, as a young person, like Batman 66?
66. Came out, that and Star Trek.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
That was always on. It was always on the reruns. It was on Nick at Night and all that kind of business. And it was it was kind of there, and I really didn't pay too much attention to it. It would be on, like, we didn't have cable growing up. And so I kind of associate it with my grandparents because they had cable and they had it on. And I was just like, oh, yeah, that's interesting. It's Batman. But, like, I was 3 years old when Keaton came out. And so when I never really connected the two. Like, for the longest time, I was just like, oh, that's Adam West. That's 66. That's some weird TV show. But when I finally saw 89, I was like, oh, this is Batman. Like, this is really Batman. And, 66 is really just a parody, even though it came before. Like, it was this weird, like you said, compartmentalize. You're just like, oh, this is really what Batman is supposed to be like. And just to mention your love of that scene in Batman Begins, when he's like, thanks for drinking my booze. Just go. Go. That scene. The reason why one of my favorite Batmans of all time is Kevin Conroy is because he was kind of the first person to do that.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
If you think about it, because Keaton really didn't do that too terribly much. He didn't even really mask his voice. He just kind of whispered a little bit.
Right.
And then Adam West, of course, didn't change his character whatsoever when he was Bruce or Batman. Not in the least. But when after 89 came out and then Batman the Animated Series came out, Kevin Conroy kind of initiated that dual personality. Now, granted, we had that in the comics, of course, but on screen, like I remember seeing, I can't remember what episode it was, but Batman was in the Batcave and he was in full Batman garb and he's talking to Alfred just like this. And he's like, oh, I need to call Harvey. Just hold on 1 second. Hey, Harvey, how's it going?
Right.
And it was so interesting because, like, that was his mask. That voice was his mask. That was his true mask. And it's like his costume was his real face. And it was just very cool to see that and realize that as a young person.
It's interesting because Conroy does get overlooked a lot in Batman discussions, and I think unfairly because we all watch the animated series. I'm a bit older than you are, and I was still watching the animated series. I was like, oh yeah, I was in front of a TV anytime it was on.
Well, hey, we're watching Clone Wars and Rebels now, man. It's cool.
Yeah, no, yes. It was a little more challenging though. There was no DVR or anything like that. I actually rearranged my social schedule around a cartoon. That's a little bit different. But
that's funny. It's fun to pretend that you had a social schedule. It's
people didn't go to 7-Eleven without me sometimes. So, there you go. No, the thing is, I wonder now, because you're sitting, when you were talking about Conroy, it kind of strikes me. I wonder now if Batman, when he was Keaton or Kilmer or, Clooney killed it, but whatever. But through the 90s, I think that the animated series was a huge assist with people's impression of how cool the Batman movies were. Mm-hmm. You had like sort of this reinforcement of the coolness of Batman's character. So in a sense, I would almost venture to guess that Conroy added weight to Keaton's character that might not have even necessarily been there. Because, as much as I love the 1989 Batman, we did a commentary for it here on the Nerd Party. And as much as I love it, there are vestiges of the 66 TV show that are in there. There are the Dutch camera angles. There are, there are plenty of things that are zany, just not as zany. But it's very obvious that Burton has several call-outs to the original series in it. And so I wonder if, the animated series, what do you think of that? That the animated series maybe helped Burton and Keaton cement their coolness rep?
Well, with the animated series, I for the longest time I didn't have access to it, and the DVDs were exorbitant. Like, they were just way too much, and I feel like I should have gotten them, but I could never find them for a decent price. And I remember I was thinking, I was like, man, I really hope I'm not looking back on this with rose-colored glasses, where,
right,
like, as a kid, you're just like, no, this is super adult, this is really dark, and this is way more mature than any other cartoon. I can't believe I'm allowed to watch this kind of thing. But then when you go back and, like, rewatch certain things, you're just like, oh, wow, I was an idiot. But then it was released on Amazon Prime, Like, you can get every episode of Batman the Animated Series on Amazon Prime. And I started rewatching them. And I was like, yeah, is it a kid's cartoon? Does it have kids' cartoon acting and storylines? Absolutely. But it was still heavy, and it was still weighty. And it was, I think you might have something to it, because because it came out in 92. Was that, what year did Returns come out? Was that the same year?
Yeah, that was 92. And Mask of the Phantasm came out the Christmas after. Was it 92 or was it 93 that Mask of the Phantasm came out? Because it was Christmas of one of those years Mask of the Phantasm came out. And I mean, I got to be honest, that the thing that shook me as a fan to my core was the fact that Mask of the Phantasm was better than Batman Returns. You know, you sort of walked out and your impression was, oh, how did they do this? What just happened here? This is the cartoon. How did they beat Burton at his own game, man? What's going on?
Yeah, Batman Returns came out the same year as Batman the Animated Series, and Mask of the Phantasm came out in 93.
Yeah.
And it's just so funny because the animated series drew heavily off of 89, and then we saw what direction Burton was going in Returns, and the animated series stayed true to itself.
Yeah.
And so even when Burton started going off the rails, it still stayed heavy. And you're right. Mask of the Phantasm is a better movie than Batman Returns, and it's absolutely insane.
And Sub-Zero is a darn good movie that nobody saw, that was released, I think, around this, similar sort of timing around Batman and Robin, because I remember watching that. I don't think it got a theatrical release. If it did, it was very limited. But I remember watching that and saying, yeah, this is Mr. Freeze. Why couldn't they do this on screen? Where did this go wrong?
I saw that so long ago. I remember nothing about it. I need to catch up on it. But you have played Arkham Knight, right? The Xbox game Batman Arkham Knight.
Yeah, I played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. I don't think I've played Arkham Knight.
Oh no. Okay. Well, so there's extra levels that you can download for a price,
Of course.
and one of them is a Mr. Freeze storyline.
Oh.
And it completes the Mr. Freeze storyline. It has
Really?
an ending. Yeah, and it's beautiful.
Oh.
It's amazing.
Wow.
I don't want to ruin anything for you, but the thing is, as I'm playing this and as I'm watching it, I think to myself, I think I might have even said out loud to the girl, I was like, I never thought I would see an actual finale to the Victor Freeze storyline. This is exactly, I never knew I wanted this, but it's exactly what I needed.
So long as let's back into this. Let's back into Batman. No, because we're sitting here, we're talking about Mr. Freeze, we're talking about Mask of the Phantasm. I really do want to ask you, okay, Val Kilmer and George Clooney, easily, I don't think Kilmer escapes it. Kilmer escapes the hatred that Clooney got. What do you think is substantially different in their performances? Which one was the better Batman? And secondly, what about their performances was so different? I have my own answer in mind, but I want to see what you think the key difference between the two of them.
Well, I think, I don't think, I know. Kilmer is definitely a better Batman than Clooney. Clooney, I think the reason why is Kilmer didn't have too much to do in Batman Forever.
Yeah.
But that's okay.
Keaton didn't have much to do in Batman Returns.
Yeah, exactly. Kilmer, I don't mind Kilmer at all. Like, is Batman Forever a great Batman film? No. Do I enjoy it? Yes.
That should have been
Val Kilmer's portrayal of Batman is fine, because I feel like he's on the verge of, like, he still puts on that voice when he's like, I read your paper. Insightful. Naive.
Please.
Yet insightful.
Please, no. Please stop. Please, for the love of God, stop.
And so he slips into a character, but it's still, anybody with half a brain would be like, hey, you're Bruce Wayne. Clooney,
That's true.
Like, he does the Adam West.
Yes.
I think that's why. He just pops in and goes, hey, Freeze, I'm Batman.
Right.
It's just, yeah.
Well, and
I think that's the long and short of it.
That's the thing is I've looked back. Batman and Robin is a bad movie. no matter which
Yes.
way you cut it. They literally took the worst elements of the Batman Forever script and said, do more of that. And Clooney, you're absolutely right, hits the 1966 tone with it. But the thing is, I've looked back on Batman and Robin, and I look back on it with kinder eyes. And I look back on Clooney with kinder eyes now, because they were simply trying to do basically a big screen version of the 66 show.
Mm-hmm.
And so I might not like what the product was, but they accomplished what they set out to do artistically. Does that make sense? Like, I can't hate Clooney anymore because he was doing what they were trying to do. And at the same time, I look back at the 66 TV show, and I've looked back on that with a lot fonder eyes because I realized, and I think this is a problem with Batman fans. There's a problem, in all fan bases like this, but Batman fans especially, we're so in love with the adult version of Batman that we fail to contextualize that the 66 Batman, it was a kids show. It was a show designed for children, young children, with the day-glow colors. Most people still had black and white television sets, so they had to go high contrast. And this is, I might as well beat up on a cartoon from the era because it doesn't have modern sensibilities. And, so when I look back on the 66 Batman, I actually love it now because it just embraces the fact that they were just doing a kids show. That's all it was a kids show. And so it's allowed me to forgive Clooney. And at the same time, I've come to embrace Adam West's interpretation of Batman because it's Batman from the era of Father Knows Best. And so it fits. It completely fits with the era of television. And they were completely successful at it.
I think the reason why people can't really forgive it is because we are such hardcore nerds and we believe in the existence of universes. And because we started with 89 and we're supposed to believe that Clooney's Batman and Robin with Schumacher and Chris O'Donnell and everything like that is the same Batman as 1989. It's like, I feel like that's the reason why, because like if Batman and Robin just came out, like boom, just like that, it was a standalone, and like we went from West to Clooney, people would be like, oh man, this is such a huge high budget version of 66. I feel like it would be beloved and it would be looked upon with those nostalgia glasses. But because we got such a huge shift, a huge tonal shift in 89 with Keaton and Burton, and then we got it was basically like boiling a frog. Is
right?
where,
Okay, no, I see. Okay.
Like it was just it was slowly getting it, and then it wasn't until the water was already boiling until we figured out, oh, we're gonna die, and that's what happened with the Batman universe, and that's why they were just like, and let's go to Nolan and let's do 89 all over again, and that's what they did with Batman Begins. And so with Batman and Robin, I never really blamed anyone. Like I didn't blame Clooney, I didn't blame Schumacher, I didn't blame Akiva. Because I can never remember if it's Goldsmith or Goldsman.
Goldsman.
Thank you.
Yes.
I don't really blame any one person. I feel like it was just as like you failed together. Like everybody had one or two wrong decisions and they were all put together. And although I'll never actually, you know what? I still harbor resentment towards Batgirl. I think
please. Oh my gosh. Alicia Silver. Oh my goodness. That is the one, the thing is we try to stay positive on the network. So the less I say about Batgirl, the better. But there's one scene in specific where she tries to manage the word, and this is a fault of the actress. This is not a fault of the script, where she talks about how she's trying to earn money because she's sick of Uncle Alfred subjugating himself to the rich Wayne, family and everything. And she tripped over the word subjugation. And it was one of those things that was like watching January Jones in X-Men First Class and thinking during her scenes, this is the best take they had. Huh. And that's all I'll say about Batgirl. But what's interesting to me is Ben Affleck has stepped in and his Batman has embraced, I would say, the darker aspects of the Batman character, whole hog. What is interesting to me is it's been rejected much more. I didn't have a big problem with Affleck as Batman. He was fine, whatever. But what's so interesting to me is what is the disconnect? It's almost like his Batman is just an amped up version of what informed Keaton's Batman. I mean, Keaton's Batman comes out of an era when Times Square wasn't safe to go into. Like, it's easy to forget because of all the cleanup stuff and how Times Square has become like this big glitzy sort of like East Coast Vegas sort of attraction. It's getting back to that sort of like Death Wish Batman, that also gave birth to the Punisher sensibilities. Why do you think it is that Affleck, he basically turns in just, Keaton on steroids? Why does it get rejected so much more? Is it just that the film wasn't as loved, or was it something about his performance that didn't click?
I honestly believe it's because it was a good Batman in a bad film, and like with Clooney, it was a bad Batman in a bad film, and in Batman Forever, it was an okay Batman in an okay film, and it was. I know you could argue that point, but that's not the point I'm trying to make. But
no. I hear you.
With Affleck, I was one of the first to, and I always admit this. I've talked about this dozens of times now, and every single time I qualify it by saying I was one of the first people to scream to the heavens, "Why Ben Affleck? Why did you cast Ben Affleck? Why do you hate us, Warner Brothers? Why?" But then all of a sudden I started seeing him in the trailers, and I was like, oh, okay, well, maybe. And then I saw the movie, and I was like, oh, wow, his Batman was one of the best things about the movie. And so I feel like it was right Batman, wrong film. And so that's why I have hope for the future. I don't have that much hope for Justice League, but I have hope for a standalone if he does it. And I think the reason why he was rejected by the masses is because of the movie. But I've heard more than a few people say that people who hated the film, they're like, yeah, but Affleck was good.
And he carries it through to Suicide Squad.
What do you mean?
That Batman shows up in Suicide Squad.
Yeah, but he doesn't really do anything.
But he seemed, it almost seemed like they tried to soften him a bit. Because or am I just reading it wrong? Like, it seems like there was if it had just been showing him chasing Joker and Harley, that's a different Batman than we got with, I guess a slightly softer side when he was encountering Deadshot and putting his daughter in danger, which seems something that Batman shouldn't have done. But
no, never. Oh no. Like, actually, no, I kind of want to talk about that because I haven't talked about that on air. Every time I've seen that movie twice now, and both times that I saw that scene, like the girl and I would just we would say out loud, "Bats would never do that." It's in an alleyway. Like, he's gonna scare the bejeebus out of this girl, while she's with her parent, and then he's gonna take that parent away in an alley, and like, doesn't that sound familiar? And also on top of that, why would he put a little girl in danger? Why wouldn't he just track him? Like, Bats would track Deadshot until he dropped off his daughter and then pick him up. But no, like, we had to have this weird thing where she put herself in between Batman and Deadshot. It was just it was a horribly written scene.
Yes, it was horribly written. I think that they sacrificed Batman's nobility on the altar of trying to make Deadshot an anti-hero as opposed to a villain.
Yeah.
They didn't. Will Smith. They didn't want to commit to making an actual villain. And so the best way they saw was to show him having mercy because his daughter was there. And I agree with you. It's a clumsily written, clumsily executed scene, like 100% of the time. So, okay, so you still have hope for a standalone The Batman with Affleck.
I do.
But where can he go? What territory have we not explored yet? Like, how do we make Batman Begins had the virtue of Nolan coming in and telling Batman gets retold over and over. We know how his parents died. We know how, and the challenge is to make it fresh every time. And so we've seen Keaton's parents die. We've seen Clooney get over it. and we've seen Bale's parents die. How do they make it fresh? And we've seen Affleck's too. How do we make it fresh? How do they make Batman new again, the way that he's had to be made new again before?
I say a real-time battle. I say keep it smaller and make it real-time, where, you know, like you have your opening, you have your prologue, everything like that, but somehow Batman is locked in a location. He's on a mission where, now I'm not saying like real-time as in, 24 or something like that. I'm saying that like days don't go by. Like it's like weeks don't go by. It's like we have a subsection of hours where Batman is forced to track down a killer. I think it's Deathstroke. So say he has to track down and defeat Deathstroke, and he's on a timetable. Like Batman loves Christmas. So, like it's around Christmas time, it's winter, they're in an abandoned, like maybe it's in Arkham or it's around Arkham or something like that, where he has to go through the belly of Arkham to get to Deathstroke. And so that way we can see all this crazy stuff along the way if we wanted to. I'm just spitballing here, but I'm just saying, like, let's not do this big thing with blue light in the sky. Let's make him Batman most of the time, where we open up the movie and he's Bruce, but then he dons the cowl and we don't see him take the cowl off again until he is one at the end. And like we start at sundown and we end on sunrise, that kind of thing.
I think that's really interesting. I think, and the thing is, they're going to go, with Deathstroke, based on the footage, the test footage that's been released. But what I wish they would do, to speak to your point about a smaller Batman film, I think a great entry point, a great intro, give Affleck his opportunity to direct the hell out of something and also give like a nuanced performance, as nuanced as he can give. Have it be Zaz. Start with somebody who's not really in the mainstream idea, somebody that doesn't have the baggage of, I'm going to compare this Joker to that Joker, or I'm going to compare this guy to that guy, or I'm going to make it so that we are learning this Batman on his own terms without the baggage of everything we have seen before. And, Deathstroke is not a common knowledge villain, but he's kind of a showy villain.
Yes. Yes, he is.
And
the costume, the colors, yeah.
Right. Have Batman take out somebody who's just your, for lack of a better term, as disturbing a phrase as this is, your garden variety psychopath who's not, like Zaz, he has this thing where, but like he's like a serial killer. Yeah. He's like a terrifying villain. And I think that's where Batman shines, a lot of the time, is when they get into those small stories. Even in the comics, Batman is really amazing when you get him in a situation where he has to be clever and he has to outthink somebody, and it's a battle of wits with anybody but the Riddler. Because I'm not a big Riddler guy, so whatever. But you know what I'm saying? Like I want to see. I want to see Batman.
You and I have talked about Zaz privately many times. Like I think I don't know if we've talked about this on mic or not. But you and I have said, like, how great would this be if we had a Netflix-style Batman show with 10 episodes of him tracking down Zaz?
Yeah. And I think people would plug into that. I mean, I really think that the big showy thing has played itself out. And let's take Batman to where he belongs. I mean, I'm very much of the opinion that Batman is best when you give him every opportunity to stay in the shadows and sleuth it out, figure things out, and have to work overtime, to get there. And, maybe that's what we've been missing, is like every Batman movie since '89. I mean, I guess that's, that is every Batman movie, unless you want to count the serials from the 1940s. But event movies, I think, are not Batman's. It's not where he belongs. He belongs. Yeah.
I'm just so tired of event films. I'm tired of hearing tentpole. I'm tired of hearing shared universe. I'm tired of hearing, like, when they announce the Batman solo film and they announce who's in it, I don't want to hear Wonder Woman's going to make an appearance. Joker's going to make an appearance.
Right.
Aquaman's going to make an appearance. I don't want to hear that. I don't want to see that. I don't care.
But you're going to. And I think you hit on something that's very. I think this is part of what gave Nolan a lot more freedom to make movies that people love so much. Is he didn't have any of that baggage of, well, we have to work in this reference, or we have to layer in this character, or we have to have the call out to this sequel. It wasn't. I mean, there was. I remember reading an article where The Dark Knight caught them so flat-footed that there were executives who were upset because there was no video game tie-in. They were like, "Wait a minute, there's not," and people pointing that out, that like the merchandising and the marketing was actually a lot more low key than you're used to getting with and it blew everybody away because it winds up making all of that. It was the $1 billion movie for the longest time, and now that's just another thing to cross.
Yeah, in an age when Finding Dory reaches $1 billion, it kind of it hurts.
Yeah, and $1 billion. I mean, seriously, think of the money we're talking about with that. I mean, that's insane. Anyway, I have a thirst for Batman to get into the nitty gritty of it. I mean, that's what we all fell in love with. I mean, yes, Batman 1989 was a big, showy extravaganza, but it was one character versus one character, one-on-one, no tie-in, no reference to Flash, no reference to anybody else. It was one dude fighting another dude, and that was it. It was just the two of them going, and I think that is honestly why so many people fall back on 1989's Batman with so much love. Is Batman Returns is actually the one that introduced the whole now it's two villains, and now you've got how many villains, and it's just enough already. Stop it. When
The Dark Knight came out, like when they started advertising The Dark Knight, and then it was revealed that it was going to have Joker and Two-Face, I was like, no, I don't know. Yes. I don't need that. I don't want it. I don't need it. But then, of course, Nolan pulled it off, and I was like, why couldn't you do something like this in 1992? Like, why? Right. Like, what? Right. We still got massive character development with Bruce, and he was Batman for a big portion of the time, and we had great Joker moments, and we had great Two-Face moments. It was such an ensemble piece, and it can be done. But that was my knee jerk because I was burned so hard with Batman Returns and also Forever too.
Yeah, you know what was a big knee jerk reaction with me in The Dark Knight was when Two-Face flips the coin for Maroni, and then he flips the coin again. I had this Batman Forever flashback where I said, "Oh no, he's going to flip the coin until he gets." Oh, it was to kill the driver. Okay, all right, that's good. All right, I'll let that slide. That's a Two-Face thing. I get that. Like, no, seriously, like it yanked me out of the movie. At that moment. So okay, so we know what we want in a Batman standalone movie, and we know who our favorite one is, and we've taken our shots at the other people. What about the comics? What is your favorite incarnation? I mean, because you know what? Here's both an easier and a harder question, because this is an interesting question, I think, for any Batman fan. Short ears or long ears?
Oh man, I'm gonna cheat. I'm gonna say medium. I gotta go medium. I'm sorry.
That is a cheat.
I know, but like when I think long ears, I think Long Halloween.
Yeah.
And when I think short ears, I think Ben Affleck. And I need something in between. I need some Dark Knight ears. Okay,
so all right. So I guess medium is a choice. I mean, for me, so long as it's not what is it? Ice Suit Batman from Batman and Robin, I guess. But you know what though? I mean, for me, short ears. Yes, I understand what you're saying with the medium ears and everything, but I would actually put them in the short ears category. Yes, Affleck's are too short because they're just trying to recreate the Frank Miller ears.
Right.
But if I go for the the bipolar, like long ears or short ears, I got to go with short ears, because whenever I see the long ears, it's got to be something like Long Halloween, where I'm like, this is a very highly stylized look at it.
Okay.
Otherwise, if you put it in a more realistic setting, I'm sitting there thinking the whole time, why is he not catching those on things? Like, I mean, seriously, it's hard enough like when you're wearing a brimmed hat, not to hit your head when you're like getting out of the car. If you've got ears on that thing, like he is constantly hitting the tops of doors. He's like a stormtrooper on the Death Star.
Well, we saw Kilmer actually use them to bust open a window in the helicopter when he was trying to get Harvey out of the helicopter. He's like, "You need help, Harvey," and he like that's the only time I've ever seen those ears used for brute force. I was laughing hysterically when I saw that the first time.
Yeah. Okay, so here's what I think is a very interesting question, because I think that fans go very much back and forth on this. Robin. Do you like Batman better with Robin or without Robin?
Lone man, lone wolf.
You don't like it now? Is that a universal rule where you don't like any version of Robin? You think that Robin is always extraneous, or do you think that he or she, because Robin has been female before, do you think that Robin has ever served like a thematic good in a story?
I think this is going to sound really weird, but I feel like a referenced Robin is better than a present Robin. I feel like Robin being a thing of the past is a good idea, because I feel the idea of it gives the character weight, and the idea of it and everything around it shows you that, like, yeah, he's, this is his mission alone, but he's also an individual who will focus on helping others who have gone through the same kind of pain. And so I like the concept, but I have yet to find an execution that I actually like, because I like the idea of Nightwing, in Bloodhaven, and I like that he comes to visit every once in a while, but and I like the idea of a Red Hood who was tortured for a year by Joker, and then briefly was evil, but then came back to the light. I like that whole redemption storyline and how he blamed Bruce and everything like that. I love those kind of stories. But reading a comic with Robin, I find extraneous, because I like it when Batman is alone on the rooftops. He's thinking to himself, and we're hearing or reading his thoughts, and he's alone. He has no one to talk to. But every once in a while, he can get back up if he needs it from the Bat family. I like a distant Bat family, not a present one. How about you?
See, it's very interesting, because we'll come back to my question that springs out of that at the end of this. But I go back and forth on Robin. I think that Robin is great sometimes. I think that Robin is terrible sometimes. What I've always put Robin, the place that he's always existed in my brain is when Death in the Family came out, when the trade paperback came out that collected that story series. And for anybody who's not a big Batman reader, it was like a tectonic shockwave went through the comic book universe, because they put it up for a vote. Does Robin live or Robin die? And people voted die. The fans killed Robin. Mm-hmm. And the intro for it, and I'm paraphrasing here, I can't remember word for word, but I think it was Denny O'Neil was the editor at the time. Anyway, he wrote this introduction piece where he said, he talked about how close the vote was, and he said, I get it. I know people don't like Robin and people rag on him and they want Batman solo. But then he presented this argument where Robin is a humanizing factor to Batman. That the presence of Robin, especially with his more day-glow outfit than Batman wears, is a reminder that Batman's motivations are noble, and that Batman is a human underneath all of that, and that Robin basically acts as an anchor who constantly, doesn't have to be, but is constantly there to remind Bruce that he needs to be merciful. Mm-hmm. And I thought it was a very interesting read, and obviously it's stuck with me for decades now. I prefer a solo Batman for a lot of the reasons that you've outlined. I do think, and I know that I'm somewhat of an apostate in Batman circles for this, but I do think the way that they pulled it off with Dark Knight Rises was pretty great.
Yeah, I thought that was cool.
Because the idea of Batman being a mentor, I think, speaks to your idea of Batman is alone, Batman broods, Batman thinks through things. But the idea of Batman always being that symbol and inspiring people, the idea that he would mentor somebody so that it wasn't him alone. Because that's one of the conflicts at the beginning of The Dark Knight is Alfred constantly saying, you can't do this alone. Hire them. Let them do it for the night. And Batman saying, I'm the only one that can do this. I'm the only one. It's got to be me. And then Dark Knight Rises, he realizes he doesn't have to be alone, that there are other good people out there that can support him, even if they're not dressed in, I guarantee you Nolan was not going to have him in, bright yellow and green and red. I think maybe that's why people, especially with the modern sensibility, would always shy away from Robin is, the Dark Knight who clings to the shadow has somebody that, you don't even need a flashlight to see them in an alleyway. Robin's going to get shot 100% of the time.
Someone did a fan poster of what Joseph Gordon-Levitt would have looked like in a standalone film if there was a sequel to The Dark Knight Rises, and they basically they took the Dark Knight armor and made it into Nightwing, and it looked friggin' sweet. I believe it was so cool. Like, just please give me like a 30-minute standalone. Like, it doesn't even you don't even have to put that much money into it. Just give me just like a standalone story that's just released online. Just give me something like that.
Okay, I gotta know, and I don't think 1966 is out of the running for this. Best Batman theme. What's your number one Batman theme? You got Not a Batman. You got Danny Elfman. You got Elliot Goldenthal. You got Hans Zimmer, and you got Hans Zimmer. So who's your number one?
I got to go with. I hate to sound redundant or repeat myself, but that beat that Hans Zimmer gives us in Batman Begins, and that's also replicated, I think, to the nth degree in The Dark Knight, especially when he dons the new armor for the first time and he goes to Hong Kong. Yep. Like that is amazing, and then that leads into the much bigger string and brass themes. Yeah, that right there.
I will listen to that most of the time, but I gotta say that Elfman's score for the 1989 Batman and that Batman theme, the reason isn't just nostalgia that I love it so much. I love it because it is dark and quirky, but then it resolves to a very energetic, heroic theme, and I'm gonna like that a lot. 100% of the time. You go to Superman's theme, like it serves in my brain like a dark mirror to Williams's Superman theme.
Yeah.
Like they live in the same universe without being in a connected universe. And so that's what I really like is I like my heroes to have fanfare. And I think that Batman theme has the good type of fanfare, not like Elliot Goldenthal's. I take shots at that score 100% of the time. I cannot let that one slide. That Batman theme is a monstrosity.
I love that Schindler likes it. I love that he likes the score.
Of course he does. Come on, of course he does.
But no, if I had if Dark Knight didn't have that catchy beat that I love so much, I agree with you absolutely about Elfman's score. I think it's a very underrated superhero score. And I think it's I like you can play it in your head. Like I'm playing it in my head right now, and it's like it works.
Yeah, and you have the variations on it that are in Flight of the Batmobile and Descent into Mystery that are fantastic. But I will say that overall score wise, the track "Why Do We Fall" from Dark Knight Rises when he's climbing out of the prison. That is an amazing piece of music. That is true. It's absolutely amazing. Chilling. If you put that on when you're going for a run, you're going to hurt yourself by the end of that piece. Because no, seriously, like I'll have it on my mix and like I save it and I'm like, okay, coming up on a big hill, and you turn it on, and it's like, and it just drives you like a piston. It's pretty great. So.
Now, okay, so we're getting to that time. You got places to be. I've got food to eat. Like we all have things to do, and but I cannot go because you teased this information by asking this question, but then we moved on. you said favorite comic book, favorite comic
yes.
Batman. So I gotta know, do you have a favorite run or a favorite style or a favorite writer of Batman comics?
Wow. I would have to say that yes, my favorite is actually going to be the teaming of Loeb and Sale. Pretty much anything that they've done has
Hands
been
down. Hands down.
absolutely fantastic.
Loeb and Sale, Long Halloween is just, when I read that for the first time, I was beside myself. I was just like, this is everything I would ever want out of a Batman comic. This, even though I didn't really dig, I didn't really dig Sale's style 100%. I didn't like the Joker having 5-inch teeth. But
yeah. But if you're gonna go stylized, yeah.
No, I completely get it. Not really. I'm just saying it wasn't necessarily my thing. But once you throw yourself into that world, you're just like, oh, you get on board with it, and it's easy to get on board with it. But even regardless of that, just like the story and the characterization and how Loeb is able to weave everybody in there and it doesn't feel cluttered is monumental. And I think it's just that teaming together is something special.
Now, since we talked about favorite, I do have to say that the artist who worked, and the thing is, comic book art is a lot different than people think, and it's a lot harder than people think, and there needs to be a great embrace of as much style as possible. However, all of that being said, I can't remember his name, but the guy who did the art on the Batman series, right at the time that Death in the Family happened, I always hated it because I hated the way he drew the Joker for one very bizarre reason, and it sticks with me to this day, is the Joker has this elongated chin. Fine, stylized. But the mouth would move and the chin size would never change, and it used to drive me up a wall because it looked like the Joker's chin didn't move when his mouth did, and it used to just absolutely make me batty. And it would, no pun intended. So, I can't remember. I think it was Jim something. Losing it to the mists of time. But that art style just really, really irked me.
There are certain times when you'll read a comic book, and sometimes the art it will turn you off. You're just kind of like, oh, I can't even get into the story because I can't even look at the art. And I have to I'm kind of a snob that way certain times. When I'll read older comics, I'm just like, oh my god, I'm such a child because I can't get into this older style. But okay, so before we close out, I do want to say one thing to the audience because this is relatively new. I am a big Telltale fan. I've played all the Walking Dead series on Telltale, and I've played some side stories and everything like that. But Batman, a Telltale story, or Telltale, a Batman story, I can't remember how they did it, is amazing. It is really good. It throws you into it. I really don't want to spoil anything for anyone because it's a collection of fantastic moments. But if you want a detective Batman that focuses on character development and character development that you get to control, spend the money. It's worth the money. You can get it on iPad, you can get it on Xbox, PlayStation, computer, anywhere. It is a good characterization. And the same guy who did the Joker voice in Assault on Arkham does Bruce Wayne and Batman in Telltale's Batman, and he's a very talented voice actor, and it's very well done.
That is high praise. I think we talked about that offline at one point, and you told me at this point just wait for everything to be done and then jump in, or should I just go in for it right now? Because I've gotten a 360, so I don't think I can get the current in Xbox stuff. Is it worth it on iPad?
I think Telltale stories are great on iPad because you're not doing anything really crazy. It's not it's not a three person. It's not a first person shooter. It's all very controlled. I think you could do it no problem on the iPad because the main reason why I told you to wait was because it's an extremely buggy game. It has nothing to do with the story or the voice acting or anything like that. It's just the mechanics are just the loading times are just it takes you out of it. But it would probably be better on iPad when it comes to loading pads and things like that, loading times, and that is. I'll give away one moment.
Okay.
and there's one moment with Zaz where somebody needs to create a distraction. One inmate goes up to Zaz and slices his face and says like, "Oh crap, you're gonna have a scar." And Zaz freaks out because he now has a mark on him that doesn't mean he killed someone. So he is freaking out and trying to find the first person he can in Arkham to kill so that mark will mean something.
That's pretty fantastic. I think I'm going to be downloading this as soon as we're done.
So that's all I'm going to say.
All right, you just sold me. Absolutely. Very cool.
So it's worth it. So, all right. Well, that is our Batman podcast. This is Filibuster, and we thank you so much for listening. John, where can we find you online?
Kessel Junkie. You can find me here on the network on Aggressive Negotiations with Matt Rushing and Great Shot Kid with Mike Schindler. You can go over to Trek FM and find me with Mike Schindler on Stage 9. And you can find me co-hosting Words with Nerds with my pal Craig, who got a lot of love at the beginning of this show. Where can people find you, Tristan?
Well, you can find me on Twitter as well, at The Insane Robin, and you can find me all over this network, and hosting a show called Nerd Nuptial, which is a show that I host with my wife, where we look at nerd life through a married lens. And you can also find me on Punch It with Charlene Schmidt, where we focus on writing and pop culture, and we do a lot of episodes on the fly. And we just got done doing a 3-part epic, a Star Wars film written all on the fly. I really hope that you guys check it out.
You should, because it's very good, and I want to say what was most fascinating about it is that Shar is not a diehard Star Wars fan and isn't steeped in the lore, and hearing where you guys took it actually took me back to my childhood when I was wondering where things were going to go. So you guys really, really did that. So people should check out Punch It. It's really great.
Well, thank you very, very much for the endorsement. Yes, everybody should go to thenerdparty.com and check out all those shows that we mentioned, as well as all the other ones on our network, because we have grown so much last year, because we're now in 2017, that we are giving you Nerd Party content every single day of the week. And we appreciate your time. And remember that we are the night.
Join the revolution. Join the Nerd Party.
Welcome to Nerd Party.